The prelude starts with a promise. Two children, a boy and a girl, make a promise to each other to meet again when they grow up to be fine adults. Though it is a one-sided promise, the guy is determined to hold up to his side of the bargain. The story is set on the Kibujima Island in the middle of the ocean, a sparsely populated island of 3,000 people, home to the Bujima Academy, and with most of its citizens being students. The Bujima Academy is a prestigious, invite-only academy that has produced numerous presidents, doctors, idols, stars, and many other successful people, and is now also home to Shabana Kaoru, a young boy who had grown up all his life being spoilt and doted on by his mom and older sister. On the first day of school, the students gather around to be addressed by the principal, and it is there that Shabana notices that most of the girls in the school are really attractive vixens. After a week, it has also become clear to him that he is one of the youngest-looking people in the school. As he walks through the school, a burly-looking dude barges past him. Being small, Shabana can only cower away from the dude. Just then, another girl comes onto the scene. This is Kanra Ray, and she strikes up a conversation with Shabana. It turns out that she is on the student council and is responsible for giving the younger students the tour of the school. Shabana apologizes to her for taking up her time when she can be doing other things, but she gives him a pat on the head, and he is well aware of the two great mounds that hang in front of him. He blushes, and she tells him that he has the opportunity to show her why the orientation is not a waste of time. In addition, she asks him if he is free after school. After school, she takes him into the city and they first go to a restaurant. He watches her eat enthusiastically, and when she catches him staring, she flashes him a peace sign. They go on different tours to different places and end up on the pier. As they sit down together, she innocently points out that all spots they visited today are known to date spots. Shabana is alarmed at this. She then looks down and tells him that he should visit her if he wants to go anywhere else. Before she leaves, his eyes catch the jugs, and he notices they are wet and transparent. She catches him looking, crosses her arms over them, and calls him a perv. He looks away quickly, apologizing to her, but suddenly, he enters a hypnotic-like state. She reveals her beautiful blossoms and grows horns from the top of her head. She tells him that the desires of humans feed them, the demons, and she places his hands on the soft, round balloons. The tone of her voice becomes alluring, and she encourages him to squish as much as possible. She further informs him that people on this island can't get away, and suddenly he snaps out of it. Without hesitating, he runs away. While he runs away, he wonders if demons inhabit the island. He rounds a corner and peeps from the hidden spot, and he notices the boy who bathed into him on a leash. The girl holding the leash informs another one that she is done with him and that she would eat him the next day. They tie the leash to the wall and walk away, talking to themselves. An image of him being eaten flashes into his mind, but he remembers the girl from his dreams asking for his hand in marriage. Suddenly, one of the demons catches up to him, and when she tries to eat him, Kanra appears from nowhere, grabs her by the horns and flings her away. Shabana thanks her, and she gives him a hand, telling him that people who are not nobility aren't allowed to touch him. She chides him teasingly for leaving her, but tells him that she is about to eat him as well. She asks him where he is going, and when he snaps that he is calling the police, she tells him that everyone on the island is a demon, and in addition, all successful people who have come from the island are demons as well. Shabana is shocked as she continues to tell him that these people work to promote the island as a pleasant location, but that the people who are sent here are only sacrifices to the demons. Shabana begins to cry because he came to this island to grow up into a fine, responsible adult, but is now going to be eaten. When he says that, Kanra informs him that all she needs from him is a few kisses and some baby seeds. He realizes this is what she means by eaten, and then she begins to grab him enthusiastically. Suddenly, he becomes withdrawn and yells at her to stop. His scared voice snaps her out of her excitement and she stops. He tells her he is promised to someone else and cannot get down with anyone else, but she tells him that this is a meal and not an intimate thing. She promises him that he will be on cloud 9, and then with the great mounds out, she sinks her fangs into his neck while holding him in place with her legs. After the meal, she wipes her lips, saying that it is delicious, and when they look down, they see that he is flooded out. She then says it's no wonder the meal was sweet. She tells him that after more time he is going to be shipped out, and she promises to enjoy it to the fullest. The young boy asks her what would happen when he gets shipped out, and she tells him he would know when it happens. He doesn't like the evasion of his question, but she ignores his discomfort and places his head on the great big bazookas. It is here he resolves to leave the island. With his head still in the bazookas, she promises to do all sorts of good things to him. Though at first he doesn't reply, she asks him why he isn't replying, and he sheepishly tells her he'd like that. Excited, she tells him that he is cute and that she would do anything he asks her to. When he expresses skepticism at this, she points out specifically that she means lewd things. Though he is scared, she informs him that she is going to take him to his room so that the other demons don't attack him. The next day, the class president, Akutabi Kiara, addresses the class, but Shabana's mind is elsewhere. He notices that he now has a weird mark on his stomach, and as he worries about this, Kanra appears out of nowhere and informs him that she wants to take him out again today. The class president watches me closely as they talk. When he looks skeptical, she comes closer and whispers that she would let him have fun with the jugs again. With the offer of free melons on the table, he accepts. However, he soon becomes wary once more. He then notices that the other boys in the classes have their demons too as well. He notices Kiara addressing a guy, and then he walks to him to ask him if he and his friends know there are demons on the island. The boys, Izobi, Banju, and Patch, say yes to this, and they soon get into an argument about whether melons or peaches are better. Though the other boys get only bites on the neck, Shabana sheepishly admits to them that his own demon got him to spray some seed. They hail him for this, and out of nowhere, Shabana compliments Izobi's neck. He scampers away, leaving the other boys wondering if he is closeted. While he runs away, Shabana doesn't notice Kiara bearing on him. She catches him and then pulls him into an empty classroom. There, she asks him for information on Kanra. She informs him that if he tells her, she won't do anything harsh to him. She then goes on to tell him that demons feed on the desire of humans, and that to get more to eat, they usually have to search for different types of humans. Basically, the more they eat, the more they grow. She then raises her skirt up and informs him that until yesterday, Kanra hadn't eaten anyone. Kiara watches him, noticing that even Patch has a stronger desire than the boy in front of her. Suddenly, she comes closer to Shabana and sits on his face. She bops against him while asking why Kanra chose him. When she sees his little buddy, she becomes even more flabbergasted. She wonders what exactly Kanra sees in him that she chose him. Her horns grow out and she decides to have her way with him. Shabana begs her not to kill him because he has made a promise to someone, but she tells him she has no intention of killing him and only wants to smash him. As she gets ready to play with his little boy, a window to the classroom opens, and Kanra stands at the entrance in a menacing stance, wielding a knife. As Kanra enters the room, Kiara stands up and readies herself for a fight. She demands to know why Kanra isn't doing her student council work, and inwardly, she thinks to herself that since Kanra hasn't been eating, Kanra isn't as strong as her. Regardless of this, Kanra totally ignores her presence and her question and walks away towards Shabana. She asks if he is okay. Kiara responds to this insult by blasting Kanra away with her magic. She tells Kanra not to ignore her, and Shabana runs towards Kanra. However, Kanra is unhurt, but for her clothes. She rushes towards Shabana and asks if Kiara did anything to him. She isn't even taking this seriously, and the soft, plump mounds of heaven wrap around Shabana's head easily. Kanra sees the little guy and is excited that the little guy has woken up at last. Before anything more violent can happen, another blonde girl appears and teasingly chides Kanra for leaving student council work for this. She tells Kanra to go help the vice president, but Kanra ignores her and asks Shabana if there is anything he wants her to do for him. The boy's head is still stuck between the large pillows of heaven, and she teases him that if this continues, they may end up doing something exciting. She squeezes the pillows together and the little buds come off of them. She is clearly trying to get him excited, but he is worried for her since the new blonde girl is getting impatient. She promises to blow his candle off if he plays with the pillows, and then she pushes them in his face. He keeps his lips sealed, then wisely tells her that he thinks she's cool, but thinks she is even cooler when she is working for the student council. Excitedly, to make him happy, she runs out of the classroom to keep working. The blonde girl thanks him for helping her get Conra to go back to work. The new girl comments that Conra seems attached to this one, and Kiara says he is still going to be shipped out regardless. The blonde woman chastises her for talking about shipping out in front of the food, and Kiara tells her not to call him the food to his face. They share an inside joke and laugh while Shabana watches them warily. The blonde woman then tells him to go back to his room so that she doesn't enrage Conra by snacking on her food. Shabana runs away and the two of them laugh at him. After he leaves, the new blonde girl faces Conra. She asks if the girl is a noble person, but when Kiara replies no, the woman darts towards her with alarming speed, and then with a sickly sweet voice, she advises the girl not to interfere with Conra. She points out that even those of noble blood like her would be in trouble if they get on Conra's bad side. This new blonde girl is USUI, the student council accountant. Kiara gulps nervously and accedes to the demands. Meanwhile, as Shabana walks through the hallways, he notices the guys from before, and they ask him where one of his classmates, Katsuhisa, is. They point out that he wasn't feeling well, and that they went to his dorm to visit him, but when they went there, they saw a girl coming out of it, telling them that no one was assigned to that room. When they insist that that is his room, she ignores them and walks away. The boys describe the classmates to Shabana, and then Shabana remembers the person as the same person that was tied to a leash to the wall. He takes them to the last place where he saw the guy, but on getting there, one of the boys decides to pee. Banju speculates that Katsuhisa was probably brought out here for bondage play, and this is when they hear the scream of the boy who is peeing. Apparently, they have found Katsuhisa. He is stuck in a drainage system there. He comes out of the place and then tells all of them that they need to get off the island. The boys hear a loud slap, and they look in the distance while Katsuhisa yells at them that this simply isn't just an island filled with beautiful women, and that no matter what, they shouldn't let their countdown reach 0 no matter what, unless they would be shipped out. The boys are only half listening to him because they identify the loud slap in the distance as the beating of a plump peach. Suddenly, one of the demons appears before them and asks them what they are doing here. The girl is Yakushima Gira, the student council secretary, and she asks Banju what they are doing here. When he mentions that they are looking for their friend, her face becomes a mask of anger. She insists that there is no one here and that this area is off limits. She calms down and tells them that she is going to let this one slide. They all sigh in relief, but she says psych, and then tells them that they are all going to be shipped. The other flat demons hear the sound of the slapping and rush towards it. Gira already has the boys in chains when the flat girls get there, and they apologize for letting the humans sneak past them. Gira tells them that it is the job of the student council to have nice peaches, but she orders them to document everything that has just happened and that their punishment is to deal with the shipped pig in the cage. Shabana begs them not to do anything to Katsuhisa, but the flat girls are suddenly at his throat with knives. They tell him not to talk to Gira like that since she and her group govern the island and all the girls there. Gira walks to Banju and stands over him. Sitting down with the plump weapon fixed to her back, she tells him she expected more from him. She punishes him by squeezing his face and telling him that she thought he was food that would satisfy her. "What a shame," she says. The other girls ask if they can eat Shabana, but Gira picks him up and correctly identifies him as Conra's food. She sighs and slaps the beautiful peach again, and suddenly, the chains disappear. She tells all of them to go because it wouldn't be fair if she released just one person. However, she shows them a map and tells them not to go past a certain area. She promises them that there will be no second chance. She then slaps the plump peach again and makes them disappear from the forest. She then tells them that if they tell anyone what happened here, she will ship them herself. The boys run away and are relieved that nothing happened to them. They are worried about Katsuhisa, but Shabana makes them understand the reality that the demons see them as cattle. Banju starts to call for the olive, but Shabana informs him that apart from the students, all other residents of the island are demons. They soon resolve to get off the island before they are shipped. Shabana informs them that he would like to save Katsuhisa as well, and the boys agree. Meanwhile, Patch tells them to stop. When they ask what is wrong, they find out that he has peed on himself. Meanwhile, Shabana gets back to his room and sees Conra there, welcoming him in an apron. She asks him if he wants dinner, a bath, or her. The girl looks amazing, and even Shabana cannot deny it. She is wearing only an apron, and when she notices he looks tired, she brings out a batch of food for him to eat. Though he is surprised that she cooked for him, he allows her to feed him a lot of food, and then she continues to bring more. This is when Shabana asks her why she is in his room. She pauses, then looks back at him slowly. She asks him why he is asking her that sort of question, and she becomes subdued, asking if he hates her. He quickly replies no, and she happily responds that that is good because she was planning to stay the night with him. She tells him that it is because general students aren't allowed to go out at night, and he points out that if she says here, that means she won't be able to go out as well. She nods enthusiastically and asks him if she can stay the night. To this, he innocently asks her not to do anything weird, and she replies, okay. Later that night, Shabana prepares to take a bath, and though he is wary of Kanra's presence, he figures this is an opportunity to learn about the weaknesses of the demons. Suddenly, Kanra appears behind him and throws off the towel, announcing that she is coming in. He points out that she said she wasn't going to come in until after he did so, and she retorts excitedly that she is actually coming in after he did so. Shabana watches the bouncy pillows jiggle as she offers to wash his back. They soon finish their bath and they head for bed. Kanra lifts him up and puts him on the bed, then holds him tightly. She confides in him that now that they are together, she is sad that he wants to go. Suddenly her horns grow out, and Shabana then asks her why that usually happens. To this she responds that it is the same as when his little guy stands up. Scared that she's going to do something, he tries to run away, but she easily holds him down and pulls him close into the beautiful pillows. She tells him to calm down and that she already promised not to do anything, but she lifts him up and sweetly tells him that it is okay if he wants to do something to her though. She tells him that she usually wouldn't let anyone do anything to her, but that he is a special exception. Surprised at this, Shabana asks her why she is being so nice to him, and she tells him that the first time he met her was a week ago, but that, on the other hand, she had known about him a long time ago. Suddenly, she gets serious and asks him about the type of person he plans to marry. They begin to talk. He admits that he cannot even remember what they looked like, and when she asks him the details, he tells her that he was 6 or 7 when it happened, and that he made the promise on a hill. Though she doesn't say anything, her knuckles clench and he is scared, but she suddenly becomes bubbly and tells him that he can throw that promise out if he eventually falls in love with her. She promises to make his heart and body hers, and she hugs him tightly while promising to help him become a respectful adult. Meanwhile, Shabana is in a crisis. He is beginning to see that although she is a demon that thinks of humans as food, he is absolutely fascinated by her. He realizes that though she is scary, her sweetness gives her a certain kind of charm. Sleepily, he tells her that she is like honey cheese pizza, and she perks up, excited at this. When she asks him what he is talking about, she finds out that he is already asleep. She looks down at him silently and checks to see if he is actually sleeping. As she hugs him tightly, she wonders how he tastes while he is asleep, and she thinks about him saying her food doesn't taste weird. She wonders if she is opening herself too much to him, and then cryptically says that he hasn't changed at all since the old days. The next morning, the boys gather around and Shabana tells them what he knows about the demon's horns. It is then that Banju announces that he has a genius plan to escape the island. Later that night, Kanra offers to wash his back. She asks him if he has a towel, but when he says no, she uses her heavy sweet pillows to rub his back. She turns him around and does the same, but sees the little guy standing up. "Ara, Ara," she says as he scampers to hide himself. Meanwhile, she gently pushes his arms aside and places the little guy in between the beautiful soft pillows. After a while, they rest together in the bath, and he asks her if she isn't shy. She proudly says there is nothing wrong with her body to be ashamed about, but she admits his shyness is adorable and cute. She then offers to show him her cute side. Meanwhile, back at the school, Banju tells them his plans to escape from the school. He points out that the island is far from the mainland by about 120 km, and that the only way to come in is through helicopters or boats. Helicopters are only used for emergencies, and then this leaves the idea of leaving with a boat. Banju points out that the boat they came in comes once every month and that they could escape on it as stowaways. He asks everyone what their count is, and Shabana calls 9, Isekai calls 8, Patch calls 4, and Banju calls 8 as well. Since it was unlikely that their counts would last for 3 more weeks, they chose not to wait for the boat. Banju points out that there are definitely other boats on the island. He then says that they should commandeer a speedboat and leave the island since it would give them the leverage they need to escape. Isobe points out that this is more normal than he expected from Banju, and Shabana encourages them to plan for a week. Banju opts to be in charge of learning how to use a boat, Isobe opts to be the scout, and Shabana opts to supply the food and ingredients they would need. They notice Patch reading a comic book and they get angry at him for being so lax. They point out that he is the one on the lowest count, and when they ask him why he has done it that many times, he tells them that he enjoys being with Kiara. It's like having his very own class president set. The stupid boy doesn't even realize the situation he is in. He tells them that she also just gave him a Slurpee before he came out here. The other boys are furious at him. Banju knocks him out and chastises him, and the rest of them leave to get the plan ready. While Isobe is scouting, he is knocked out by some huge bazookas, and when he looks up, he sees USUI, the blonde student council member who asks him if he was with Shabana today. Isobe replies no and asks why she is asking, and she teases him for being jealous. She tells him to be careful of getting involved with Shabana because Kanra is very protective of him. And when he asks if Kanra is the one with the gigantic pillows, she humps and asserts that hers are bigger. Isobe asks if Kanra is dangerous, and USUI tells him that she is usually a very good girl, but that she kind of becomes something else when it comes to Shabana. She then clearly tells him that he can mess with anyone as long as it is not Shabana. After the gentle warning, she asks him why he is out by the sea, and he says he is just taking a stroll. She plushes the big, beautiful pillows all over his face and asks him if he likes them. When he gets out, he murders that he is going to die, and then she becomes sad. She asks him if he doesn't like bazookas, and the poor dude shouts enthusiastically, like a convicted man, that he loves bazookas with his life. He goes on a rant about all the kinds of bazookas that he likes, and when he realizes that he is ranting, he bows to her and apologizes. She then asks him specifically if he likes her pillows, and he replies that he loses them. A finished man. She points out that there are people who are grossed out by the pillows, and he promises to exterminate every person on Earth that says that. She asks him if he is interested in seeing bear pillows, and the finished man yells enthusiastically. She gives him 2 choices: to see the bear pillows without touching them, or to touch the pillows without seeing them. The finished man starts to debate his choices, but then she tells him that she would allow him to explore both options on one condition. The excited boy asks her what the condition is, and she tells him to answer a question for her. She then asks him to tell himself what he is hiding from her. Furthermore, she asks him if he is planning to leave the island.